Hi everybody, this week's Art Journal Watch Along video is going to be rather short because I lost the first part of the footage. For whatever reason my camera did not record, and here's what I did. This is all just watercolors, so I watered the whole surface and went in with any remaining colors that I had on my palette, which was a purplish blue and a gray, and I made the ocean and the sky. And then I went in with burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and a bit of that sad grayish color on my palette, and I formed these lower parts of the painting, which is a bay at the ocean, and you have these wooden lanes going into the ocean, and there you have wooden trunks on them, and a lot of seagulls sit on them. So this is pretty much what the bluish part with the brown lines is, and then underneath at the very low part, the very bottom of the page, there's a bit of a cliff, like a grassy thing that you're looking from to a bit lower section where the bay or the ocean actually is, and then the part between, or the line between the grayish heaven and the bluish part, which is the ocean, pretty much on the upper third of the page is the horizon. So this is what the camera unfortunately did not record. And coming in at this point, I'm pretty much just intensifying all of the colors, setting a bit more shades, having more definition to a couple of things, darkening stuff up by mixing ultramarine and Prussian blue, which is a warm blue and a cool blue, mixing them together with the burnt sienna, which makes a very, very dark, almost blackish blue, which I'm just dabbed on top of the grassy part on the right hand side. There's no black in there yet. I'm going to add a tiny bit in the end, but not much. I'm pretty much just staying in the blue and brown area, and that's already enough. So now I'm adding those trunk stemmy things that you sometimes see. I guess you would see them more on the, I have seen them on photos at the east coast of the United States, all over Europe on the coastal lines, especially the Northern Sea and the Atlantic. I've seen them. I'm not sure how it is in other parts of the world. I don't remember seeing any on photos or in real life, but I guess if you have the tide, when the flood is coming in, you won't see those wooden installations at the oceans, but especially when the water is out of the bays and the harbor, you could see them, and there's often a lot of birds like seagulls and whatnot landing there, sitting there, especially in winter when you have a bit of ice there. There's very famous photos. Just Google anything like seagull winter tree or wood. You could come up with a pictures. I guess you know what I'm referencing to. So here and there, after putting in those wooden blocks, I just added a few of birds, like seagulls. I think they are flying in the air, and also some of them sitting on top of those wooden pieces in the sea. And the picture that I'm using as a reference is imaginary, so I didn't photograph it or whatever on my vacation, but this is pretty much what the area looked like on my impromptu vacation spot. And I talked about that in going on impromptu vacation, and talked about that last week in the art journal. So not gonna do that since I lost half of the footage. I have to talk very, very fast to get all of the stuff in. So I imagine this to be a very cold, foggy winter day. That's why I'm staying in those cool colors. However, I'm adding right about now on the lower part of the page, I'm adding some sienna or light ochre, whatever you want to call it. So it's a more of a yellowish, warmer color, but I'm being very, very scarce with that. I'm also adding that color on the horizon, and I'm smudging it with a bit of paper towel. The color on the horizon is not the pure color. There, I already picked up a few pigments when I went down on the lower part of the page and made the grass. So this is pretty much a mixed paint already. And I'm adding a ton of water here just to smooth everything out and blend it into the background, but not too much, because what I want to create here is a very far away coastline. So I want to make sure that the viewer knows that I'm in a bay or in a harbor area and not looking out into the open ocean. So that's why I added a bit of a greenish, brownish background there, very fuzzy, very blurry, but it hints you to the point that there is land on the other side of the bay. So coming back to the seasonal thing, I think this is a very foggy day, and it's cold, wintry definitely, because it's just, well, a bit gloomy, a lot of grayish and brownish tones, not a lot of great vibrant greens on the earth and whatnot. So that's pretty much a hint to the wintry season on the coast. Also with the sky being grayish and overcast, that's just the typical color of the sky, at least in Central Europe, when it comes to January and the coastal lines. So all of these things pretty much hint the viewer to a cold and stormy day, that you are looking into a bay at an ocean. So I'm letting the layer dry for a tiny bit before I add in even more darkness and shadows. The last thing that I'm going to do is put in the highlights, but before that I'm really taking care of any shadowy parts. So I'm adding into the brownish, grayish, bluish palette color that I do have, I'm adding a teensy tiny bit of black, only like a drop, and then I'm going into those wooden pieces there in the water, and I'm going for the deep shadows there. Very fine lines, not too much of the black because it just dulls the painting. But I need to have some darker than dark shadows there. So those parts where the wood is in the water, that lines down there, they're pretty much in shadow. So the painting is painted that way that the cliff that you as the viewer are standing on, where you can see a bit of the grass on the very low part of the painting, that one, that is pretty much the cliff, and then it goes deep down, and then comes the bay with the water, the ocean if it would be flood, but it's not really flood right now at the moment that I'm painting this. So these very dark blues pretty much are the shadow, because the sun is coming from behind the viewer. So that's why there is that pretty harsh line between the light blues in the midsection of the paper and the very dark blues down to where those tree trunks are. I'm enhancing all of those shadows with a bit more black, and dark brown respectively, but I'm making sure that I'm always mixing in either of the blues. So either being the ultramarine blue or the phthalo blue or Prussian blue. One of them is always mixed in there because it just it's just more appealing and nicer to the eye if you have repetition, if you have the same color scale over and over in all the different saturations all over the painting. So now that I'm pretty much having my main parts of the painting blocked in and everything is at least mostly dry, I'm just adding a few tiny details here and there on the lower part of the painting with the grass, for example, and then I'm just letting the painting sit and I'm checking where do I want to add something before I go into the highlights. So here I go now with the white, and I'm just adding a bit of white onto those tree trunks, which in my imagination is either ice, which I think is the first choice because I'm painting a wintry scene here. So this is a bit of ice that is on those tree trunks or those wooden pieces in the water. It could also be some foam from the sea, but that would actually be more the case if it would be the Atlantic or the Northern Sea, just because that particular ocean is very rough. And other oceans like the what's it called? The Kattegat and Skagerrak. So the Kattegat part, which is more like inland. So on the eastern part of Denmark, that particular sea, I think it's east. I don't know what the English name is. It's not the Northern Sea, it's the Eastern Sea. I'm not sure, but just check on Google, right? So that one is way quieter, so there's not a lot of foam on the waves, at least not in the harbors and whatnot. So I think those white lines are way more on the icy part. I'm also using a bit of white to blend the lighter parts of the ocean and those very dark blue shadows, but it also just enhances the feel of having icy parts there on the water. So that pretty much is the painting for today. I'm very sorry again that my camera didn't record the first half and that you had to jump in to my art journal piece, but I hope you enjoyed anyways. Thanks very much for watching, and please like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I will be very happy to answer them, and I hope I see you next week with a new art journal page. Until then, have a very good one, go create, and enjoy. Goodbye.